The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Saban Entertainment, and Tsuburaya Productions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tokucast. Jacob and Marcus here for episode number 49.
Yes.
Ultraman X.
Almost at 50, and almost at 52, which would give everybody who watches us one episode per week to watch. But yes, Ultraman X. It's been a while since we've seen an Ultra that we actually liked.
It's been a very long time. The last one I think that we both liked was Tiga.
Yeah. Because then we watched Gaia.
Because that was Gaia, then it was...
Okay.
Gaia had its moments. Ginga, which was not good. But now we have X.
Yes. And
I freaking love this show.
It reminded me a lot of Tiga. But I'll talk about my rankings of where I put everything for the Ultraman nearer to the end of this review.
I would do the same.
Let's go ahead and get into this opening. Ultraman, that's a lazy theme song. Ultraman X is the name of the song.
Yeah. Keeps it simple, I guess.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the song, though.
Me either.
I liked it when it was used as an insert song,
yeah,
because it does the Ginga thing where they take the opening and just use that as the insert.
It doesn't happen nearly as often.
It doesn't, because a lot of times they'll just use an instrumental version,
which is
they'll have different variations of it as an instrumental version, which I like. They'll use that as background music too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something new for Toku, but for this, it works because they change it up in enough ways that it works. As opposed to Ginga, where they just use the same version every single time.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first episode of Voice from the Starry Sky, which is the summary of a long ago, a mysterious incident, the Ultra Flare incident, awakened monsters created from spark dolls. But this universe is separate from the Ginga Ginga S one.
Yes. We see this, but once again, we're getting back to amiibos. But I think in this one it works. In this one, for me, it worked.
I'm a much bigger fan, because it's weird. You know, I'm talking about that in a second. But they create the spark dolls, thus causing worldwide monster attacks. Mm-hmm. And we end up getting to see this kid and his dad runs into a building.
I'm gonna go save your mother, let me go run in here.
Yeah, and then the building is digitized.
Ultra Flare hits the building and the building gets
digitized.
Yes.
And 15 years after the incident...
It disintegrates like it's in Tron.
Yeah. 15 years after the incident, Zio officer Daiichi Ozora was studying the cybercars until the emergence of Demaga, attacking nearby citizens. At the time...
It looks like Millennium Godzilla.
A lot of the things in this show are actually past
I noticed, especially getting in later where it's like, okay, that's totally Godzilla, but with fur on.
Yeah. At the time, an unknown voice was heard by Daiichi, which came to Earth and fused with him, giving birth to the new warrior, Ultraman X. I love the first time he transforms into it, because he's just like, I'm scared of it.
It's so great, because we're used to seeing sometimes when they transform for the first time, they don't really know what they're doing, and they're like, oh god, I have powers now, what's this? What am I wearing? When you transform into Ultraman, you're, hundreds of feet in the air, however tall he is. And you see him, in the space. But you see Daiichi in the space where they are, when they're at Ultra. And you see his perspective, and it's, all that way up in the air, and he's like, oh god. And just seeing an Ultraman, like, grabbing onto a building and going, oh god, too high. It was brilliant. It was so funny.
I love how this show, and I mentioned this because, they were just studying the cybercars, there's a constant buildup of themes and, like, the things that they use in this show, which they broke with Gi. But from Ginga to X to Orb, we end up getting... the spark dolls appearance in Ginga. Yeah. Then we end up getting the spark dolls and the cards in X.
Now we have e-readers as well as amiibos.
Yes. And then they move directly on just to the cards in Orb.
Oh, okay.
So it's a constant thing up until they got to the capsules in Gi. Yeah, let's talk about X. We talked about it super before.
Seeing it in motion, I liked it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I still wish there was a little bit... I still wish the color timer was a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
The X is a little bit too small. But there was a nice balance of color. There's a nice balance of silver, gray, and red. Not too much of one other thing.
I love Zanati. His finisher. The X finisher.
The way he does it is really awesome.
So cool.
The way he does, like, the slip with his foot and then, the lean back and then... And he doesn't ever kill the monsters.
He turns it back to a spark doll, which makes sense for Daiichi. Because his whole thing
he wants the monsters and the humans to live in peace.
Yeah.
Because long ago, that's what happened. And he has his best friend. He has Gomora.
Yeah.
His little cyber doll friend that he's always had with him.
Gomora has always been a thing, especially, what was it? The Ultraman Resident one that was... I mean, not Resident. It was the other Neo Ultra Q, or like one of the other ones that led up to that the first Zero movie we watched, with that group of people.
Yeah.
Gomora was in that too. He's like always been a thing.
Pretty much every monster in this show is from a past Ultraman.
Which, to be fair, is almost an old, like, it's been a thing ever since they started the anniversary thing.
That's true.
Because they can't count.
No, they can't count. But this show aired in 2015 is when it started airing. And this is the year that Ultraman really stepped up and said, we are going to compete with Kamen Rider and Super Sentai to be the great toku that kids are going to want to go home and watch.
And he moved it to Saturdays because it used to be on Tuesday evenings.
I can understand why they would do that.
But either way, it's still...
Move it to Saturday.
Yeah, there are so many things to like about the show. We're getting to meet the team, Zio, XIO.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people in this that, well, I guess really just two main people that we know from other Tokusatsu series. The Captain
Kamiki,
is Dr. Maki from O's,
mm-hmm.
and he was also the head of like the other bad group in Amazons.
Yukami was his name.
And of course, Hayato, who we definitely do know, is Snipe from Kamen Rider X8.
This is before that, but yeah, eventually he would go on to become another Snipe.
Yep. Which is a thing he's much more known for, which makes sense. But yeah, I love this group.
I love this group and I love this cast. The acting in the show I thought was very good.
There was one person I didn't really like, but that's just because I don't like characters of this type.
Who was that?
Really?
I can understand why I didn't like her.
Yeah.
I thought she was fine.
Asuna.
It helps that she was the only one on the team who was like that.
Yeah.
Because it created a nice contrast between her and Asuna and everyone else. But Asuna especially because they're on the same age.
Yeah, Asuna's fine though.
Asuna was great.
She's the other protagonist. And she, weirdly enough, looks a lot like, I kept thinking it was almost Yellow Buster. And I was like, it's not her.
She looks a little bit like her, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, oh my god, no, never mind. Whoops. Yes, Seal.
I really like Asuna. I thought she's a badass, but she has a cute side that she's not afraid to show. I really like her.
But I don't think they're names though, because it doesn't really make any sense. Xeno Invasion Outcutters.
Yeah.
And like if it was the first two, something else, but the Outcutters make no sense.
Probably because it's Japanese and they just wrote it in English.
Maybe. I don't know. It's weird.
You see this all the time when Japanese write English things. They don't really account for what the word means or how it scans to.
It's the Outcutters.
Yeah, like Outcutters. What does that even mean?
Nothing.
It means they cut out the Xeno invasions. Is that what it's supposed to mean?
But
it's silly.
Just a little bit more about X itself. As I said in the Ginga S review, at the beginning of this, they base a lot of stuff from that and just build upon it. Because you have a Victory could, use the Spark Doll and take like an armament or like some piece of the monster and use that. X actually uses a cyber version of that and makes it into an armament for the Ultra.
Takes the Spark Dolls, uses the E-cards, and that's what gives him his new armaments. And for the first time that I can really remember, we got big form changes like this.
Yeah.
Similar to something that you would see in Kamen Rider.
Yeah. It's very, very different. I'm a much bigger fan of how they did the form changes in Orb, though. But we'll talk about that when we get to Orb in like 2 months.
And then in the second episode, Lots of Possibilities, where we have Birdo, a monster that has come to the surface to try and lay an egg. It has poison and acid attacks, especially from its beak. So we get our first armament. We get the Gomora armor. Gets these two big-ass shields on its big gauntlets on his arms, and he uses them to block its attack, blow it to Kingdom Come, or at least into a Spark Doll form, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Ultraman X has some of the best action I've ever seen in its episode.
It does it very well.
It's very well shot. You can always tell what's going on. There's a really good use of camera angles.
Yeah.
There's some good use of, in the first couple episodes, there's some great use of first person.
Yeah.
The scene where he's fighting Birdon and you just see like his point of view of this giant beak just like coming at his face. Pretty good stuff.
It's great. I love it all. It's just like
later on when Birdon is coming at him, the Geo fighter blows up one of its acid sacs.
They did that.
That was awesome.
In Mebius too, when Birdon was in that. And I'm sitting here like, just stop having balls on your face.
It would help.
You're a ball chitty. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Man
in Black 3. Oh, yeah.
That's the second one.
Old broken hotness. Old busted hotness. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and skip on to episode 5 because this show likes to have all the Ultras come back in. And of course, because it's this time period, the first Ultra who's coming back is none other than Zero. And
when he showed up, I was like, oh, well, this ought to be good.
Yeah. And Zero, once again, a cocky bastard. Yep. I love it. I love him.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned this. Ultraman X, voiced by Stagbuster.
Yes! It is Stagbuster.
Ultraman X is voiced by Stagbuster.
He had no brooms, and he was not protecting any beings.
He has graduated from Guardian of the Forest to Guardian of the Earth.
Yeah. I'll sit here like...
And I freaking love it.
It's great. Anytime he is coming back, and I want Jay to come back and just something else for no reason. If he came back and Lupat, that would just be great. He would just like appear. Like they're going through the forest, you just see him in the background.
You just see him in the background swimming. That would be so amazing.
That would kill me. I think I might actually die that day. That was just laughter. But yeah, Zero comes back, and this is when we really get introduced to the other Ultra cards, which is what they use in Orb. And I love it because Rui ends up getting transported to another planet.
The alien Bandero.
Yeah.
Shows up, takes him. He's a thief. He's a rogue. Takes all the Spark Dolls because they run the car.
Yeah.
The Geo car. Rui was in it too, so they go to this other dimension, other planet, millions of miles away. Ultraman X has the power to travel through dimensions, so he's easily able to follow them. And X gets
Zero's powers.
Yes, he's able to scan other Ultras and get powers from them in the form of cards.
Yeah,
similar to other video games.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
There's this one scene in this episode that straight up killed me. Because Ruby is like wants to take a selfie with Zero, and Zero's like, I'm all for it, and she's like, X, could you?
Yeah, X, could you get out of the frame?
And then you see X coming at the end, and they're just like,
My favorite moment in this show was at the end where it was X fighting Bandero.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting ready to use their big finisher attacks. X throws all those blades at him. And
you mean Zero?
Zero, sorry. Zero throws all the blades at Bandero. Bandero looks down at his shadow afterwards, and it's just full of holes.
And I'm just like...
I friggin' lost it when that happened.
That's so cool!
And then he finishes him off again, and then he finally blows him up, and that was great.
Now, episode 6, The Name of the Memories of a Planet. This show, going off of our Tokucast serialization versus episodic, is much more episodic.
Yes.
It's much more reminiscent of Tiga and Mebius in those cases, which is okay. I mean, a lot more. You see more Ultras do that than what you saw.
I'm really okay with it though in this one because the show is short, but they still, even though the show is episodic with a couple of 2-parters here and there, they still manage to put things in that are set up and paid off throughout the show.
Yeah,
and I love that.
And this is one of those 2-parters because The Man with the Memories of a Planet and Oath Beyond Worlds. The only thing I didn't really like about this episode was the one high school girl, because I'm just like, why? Like, you didn't bring anything to the story, but I mean, at the same time, you didn't really take anything away from it. So I'm just like, but she didn't really have any lines either.
Yeah.
But
it didn't bother me that much.
A man named Teru appears in the city and makes, he gets others into trouble and everything. He's an alien, and he came to Earth by controlling.
I always find it interesting the way aliens are titled in this show. It's alien and then whatever their species is.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting.
And writing a mecha monster called Rudian. Teru heals a girl who was injured, and by seeing this, Daichi Ozora realizes that this person has no evil intention, even after he was shot by a police officer.
Yeah. I scared police.
And I love this scene. Like, these 2 episodes are really, really good. And I'm just like, it shows just how people love to panic when it's something that they don't fully understand. So they go for shoot first, ask no questions. And that's basically exactly what the police officer did. And I'm saying, like, that's the opposite of your job.
Yes.
So
you see him and you understand he knows that aliens can be something of a threat.
Yeah.
So he panics, shoots him.
But Terror doesn't actually...
It works for the story.
Yeah, he doesn't fire back or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, like, that shows just...
He's a better man than you.
He's a better shooter than you. So, but yeah. Daiichi unites with Ultraman X to stop the movement of Rudian. Zero were protecting Teru and Rudian, who basically he found Rudian like in a small shrine.
He was going to a shrine.
Yeah. And Zero were they knew about these people, and they ended up finding out that there's a monster coming down called Gargoyle, and was aiming at Rudian, and he will land on Earth very soon.
And the Gargoyle is what destroyed Planet Gold.
Yes.
It turned everyone to stone.
It's Gorgon. It's in the name.
Yep.
And I love the fight between X and Gargoyle and Rudian.
That whole fight is great. This show is we always have the ground forces.
Yeah.
In Ultraman, we have the ground team, this Geo,
unless you're Ginga.
Unless you're Ginga. In this case, you have high schoolers or high schoolers.
Whatever.
But this is the most effective that team has ever been.
Yeah.
They are actually. It's like if Ultraman wasn't here, I can still picture these guys posing a threat to the monsters.
Yeah.
Because they're well coordinated, their weapons are effective, and their weapons are really awesome too.
Yeah.
One of they have these little handguns. They have the power of an L-shot laser in the palm of their hand.
Yeah.
And that's how they're able to take out, because Gorgon, he turns Ultraman X to stone, and the only way to undo that is to blow the eye that turns everything to stone. They have to blow it up.
And they do.
All 3 of them at the same time shoot L-shot lasers into its eye, blow it up, and it's great.
And then we end up getting to see, there have been armors throughout this entire one, but I feel like this is the next one that really made a big impact, because it was the Bimstar armor. And he used that to, like, absorb energy into the shield on his arm. And I'm saying, like, that's the way you're going to end up having to beat this guy, because the eye grows back.
Yes.
And it does, and all of this is just perfect. And these 2 episodes are just showing, how humanity will react to aliens and things like that, and how people aren't really ready for them. Mm-hmm. It's great. I love, the social things that this episode really gives us.
If we could go back for a second to episode 4, all for one, the episode with Bimstar. Mm-hmm. This episode was so great because Bimstar, the way it absorbs him, they go to the moon, Geo manages to get Ultraman out, and then Ultraman, we saw this in Mebius first, where Ultraman is trying his best not to destroy the population. He uses an attack in this episode that it's like, well, why that was so effective? Why wouldn't he use that? Why wouldn't he use that more times? Because if he used this attack more often, he would devastate the city. There'd be nothing left. They're on the surface of the moon. He jumps into the air and does like that just explosion death cannon onto him, and there's just this massive explosion down below. It's like, okay, I understand why you haven't used that up to now. There'd be nothing left.
So
really, really good.
This show is just really, really great. Okay, episode 8, X in Peril. Daiichi and the rest of Zero meet with the esteemed Dr. Toma Kaito, even as Zeton rampages to the city. Dr. Kaito and Zero work on a way to stop the kaiju, but it's revealed that he's an imposter, as X is overtaken by a form of virus used by the cyber armor that he ends up putting on that time.
Alien strong.
Yes, and forced to fight along Zeton. However, as the real Toma Kaito appears, returning actors in Ultraman. Who would have thought? Because they just love to come back.
Yep.
And turns into Ultraman Max, which is a show we haven't watched yet.
We haven't watched yet, but I'm excited to.
I feel like we had to watch it.
We should.
I've heard it's very comedy focused, and that's why
I've heard that there's one episode in particular that is extremely comedic, and apparently that's what everyone blew out of proportion in one of our comments commenters let us know about this, and thank you for that.
There's
Because after watching this episode, I'm very curious to watch this show.
Yeah, he looked interesting. And there's this one scene, like I saw a
Also,
GIF.
like the theme song.
Yeah. I saw a GIF from one of the episodes of Max where he's like holding a car and he drops it and he's like I'm just like, what?
Oops.
I just love how you just like
It's the Gaia memory where he drops it in the axle. I was like, oh god.
it's so good. I was sitting here like, I would want to watch this show just based off of that. That looks hilarious. Yeah, so over the next couple episodes, we just end up getting to see, it's basically just returning monsters a lot more in this show. Because for some reason, Ultraman doesn't make a lot of new ones anymore.
I'm honestly okay with that.
It's like...
For now, I'm okay with that. Wait a couple shows and we'll see. But Ultraman, ever since we watched Nexus, Ultraman, I thought, has always had some of the best monster designs you will ever see in Toku.
Yeah.
They're all big. Most of them are all really big monsters. So you got to make them fill the city. You got to make them feel big and intimidating and powerful. And I think the show does that very well.
Yeah, but in episode 12, we end up getting to something that is much more of a plot-worthy thing that they actually follow up from the Ultraman Victories shorts that we watched. End of the Rainbow. An unknown female alien summons another Damaga to fight X, and times the fight to coincide with a burst of dark thunder energy, which strengthens Damaga into Tsurugi Damaga, but weakens X to the point that X disappears.
Dark thunder energy is our evil force du jour.
Yes.
For the show.
For the rest of the show, at least. After forcing Daiichi out of the fusion, Daiichi must resort to a dangerous method to save X, and in the process remembers a moment of the past with his parents, resulting in an upgraded form for X. Now, a couple things. The enemy from this...
Gina Spectre?
Yes, Gina Spectre is Marika from Gaim.
That's who Marika was.
Yes.
You told me she was in the show. I couldn't remember who it was.
Yep, it's Marika. And
Marika from Kamen Rider Gaim.
Yes, and I'm just like... Now, she was in another show, like the actual character, Andro Super Warriors, which is something like Ultraman adjacent. Which they tend to do. They tend to bring a lot of things back from the 60s and the 70s back to the present. And that's what they did in this one. By bringing Gina Spectre into this and by making her a badass because she's Marika. You can't have Marika on screen without her being badass.
We have her, we have her two henchmen, Alien Magma and Alien Chapney.
Yes.
We have Mold Spectre, who is her giant brother.
Yes, and they were...
and they are the siblings of Judas Spectre.
Who Victory
defeated in Ultra Fight.
Yes. I love how it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And especially her. It's just like every single time I see her on screen, I'm just like, yes. She's great. I love her. We all know this. She's the greatest thing. Now, she can also reanimate spark dolls. And I love her personality in this. We don't really get to see that much of it. But there's like this one scene later on where she was like doing a deal with an alien and she's like all happy and nice and proper and everything. And then she commands her henchman to kill him.
Yep.
And I'll sit here like,
oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for this. Kill him.
we have other stuff to do. But yeah, so she ends up coming back in this episode. And over the next two episodes, we get the return of Victory and Ginga.
Yeah.
Which, as we said, we don't really like that show, but it's always great to see them come back.
So here's the thing. My problem with Ginga and Ginga S were never the Ultraman.
Yeah.
It was never the leads.
Yeah.
I always thought they were okay. My biggest problem is with the script and supporting cast.
Yeah.
So seeing them in this when it's just the two of them.
Well, three of them.
Well, three of them because the lady comes too. But I honestly,
who is now in Build as the reporter.
Mm-hmm. Is she now?
Yes.
Huh. But when it's them, it's just those three. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
They came back and I was like, all right, cool, let's do this.
Because Gina Spectre is able to open up wormholes into other worlds, and through one of them brings a captured Sho and her brother back into the world. And unknowingly, UPG member Arisa. It's up to Daiichi and the others to find Sho and stop Gina Spectre as she uses the Dark Thunder energy to her advantage. And I love when Arisa first meets Zio, because she's just like, what in the hell is going on? I'm a part of UPG, and they're like, what the hell is UPG? It's like, we protect Earth. Like, we protect Earth. What?
girl,
we friends now. And that's literally exactly what happens.
Yep.
Because, they automatically...
I also liked how it's victory first and Ginga doesn't come in until later.
He literally comes in the last half of this episode.
Yeah. And I was totally fine with that because I always thought victory was the more interesting one.
He was.
So I was like, you went with the better Ultraman on this. I'm proud of you, Joe.
But then we end up getting some amazing fight scenes in this episode. This episode has some of the best fight scenes in this entire show.
Yeah.
It's so good. Having Arisa and Asuna fight Gina.
There's a lot of ground fighting in this.
There's a
which
lot
has
of
been
ground
established because we know Asuna's a badass.
Yeah.
We've seen her training before.
And we know Arisa's a badass.
Yeah.
We saw her in Ginga S.
Yeah.
So it's the two of them fighting Gina Spectre and those other
two
monsters.
That was great. She's got her belt.
Yeah.
Red belt that she's whipping him with.
And having Victory and X fight those other two. It's they do this really good thing with the camera, like you said, the camera angles, but also the camera speed in this episode. Because they'll slow down and speed up.
They'll do the rambling thing like you've seen some Zack Snyder movies. It does that. It's really cool.
But it's in a different way because it's when you're close up.
It doesn't look exactly the same because it is a television and whatnot.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just when they're close, the fights are so much faster.
Right.
But when they're farther away, because they're giant, there's air resistance, and they really play on that.
That's another thing that Ultraman, especially the good ones, do very, very well. Sense of scale.
Yeah.
There's a great sense of you. In an episode we'll get to later, you get a lot of shots from the ground's perspective.
Yeah.
And stuff. It shows you, like you said, it's faster when they're close up, so you really feel like you're there. But the editing isn't too quick, so you can actually see what's going on. It's great.
It's so good. And then at the very end of this episode, another portal opens up when you see X and Victory are still fighting this guy, and you hear Ginga fire, and all these meteorites just come down, and Ginga just jumps out of the portal and lands in superhero pose. And lands in superhero pose, and Deadpool's your knees though. So
he does a superhero landing.
Oh, it's so cool. It's I love this episode. It's such a great this 13 and 14, which is the Ginga S thing, is just so great. And then that whole we didn't talk about Exceed X, which happened in episode 12.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one. I really wish they didn't do the thing on the blades so many times. It's just they had to do it 3 times every time. We're just okay, game right.
Episode 12, Destination of the Rainbow.
Yeah. That's when you're getting to see the X-Lugger and Exceed X. I like Exceed X, though. I
really like Exceed X.
The colors just go down the suit.
It's similar to, what was our number 1 Ultra suit? Where the colors all just blend.
Ginga Victory.
Ginga Victory.
Which happens in episode 14.
It was another one.
No, it was Ginga Victory.
No, number 1 on our best suits list.
Ginga Victory.
No, it wasn't. It was somebody else.
Saga?
I think it was Saga.
It might have been Saga.
It was the all black one where it's
the galaxy colors.
Yes.
Yeah, Saga.
This kind of reminded me of that. It's so weird to see, seeing all these colors at once in an Ultra suit, but they're not overpowering.
Yeah. It works.
The absence of green, though, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I think that works better.
I do, too.
This works.
It's interesting. It's just...
Yeah. Yeah, just because the color palette goes from hot to cold, and I think that just makes it a little bit better.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I love Exceed X, and having that whole scene where Sho was helping Daiichi actually learn sword fighting techniques to actually really use as fighting as Exceed X, because it's just you're just swinging your sword around, you're not doing anything. Right? It's really in this case just
this, and also the Max episode gives us a good comparison on how Ultraman henshins have changed throughout the years.
Yeah.
The changes in the Rise sequence as well. Because in this one, it really feels like a modern Toku show, because it also brings up a point. Because remember in the Ginga review, one of your complaints, my complaints as well, was the way they had to scan the foot on the tip of the dagger. Whoops. Whoops. In this one, he scans it, the Sparkdoll comes out, he grabs it and just scans the foot, but it's on a much bigger surface.
Well, he doesn't even do it that often, because more often than not, he uses the cards, which he just inserts.
He does that too, but to transform into Ultraman, he has to scan X, and then his Rise has 3 different poses.
His is actually similar to Mebius's, because he comes out with one hand, he puts the hand down, goes up the other hand.
Yeah.
Same way Mebius does.
So this one does the cross off.
Yeah.
X. So then you compare that to Max, where it's just 1, 2, 3, bigger. It's just it's a nice little exchange on how that changed.
Yeah.
Ginga is the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just love that it's the same thing, but from Ginga, the scanning, but they just cleared it up. They got rid of the things we complained about.
And there's the thing in this where there's just a little minor thing, but they end up having to realize that for an Ultra to be on Earth more often than not, it's like a human or somebody, you need to have like a human host.
Yes.
And I love how that's like a minor thing in this episode, but it's something that they build up on later in one of my favorite episodes of this show, and I think you know which one I'm talking about because my favorite Ultra comes back. So,
which episode are you talking about?
Yeah,
I know. One of my favorites too.
Episode 15 and 16 are two of the best things I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness, both of these are great.
Yeah. Oh my. In episode 15...
Episode 15 is the Captain Kamiki episode.
Yes, where we get to see...
We find out he has a daughter.
Yes.
A hitherto unspoken daughter that haven't spoken in many, many years.
Yeah.
Because he was a workaholic. Because he was with Gio way back in the day. We find out that Gio goes back way, way several years ago.
Well, it goes back to really when everything really started 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15. But yeah, he's been with it for those 15 years.
Yes.
He had to leave his wife and daughter. His wife was dying. It sounds pretty cut and dry stuff.
And, it has one of the best moments where the mother is like, draw me a picture, and then he has to leave. And then when he comes back, the mother is gone. And it's just the picture.
It's just the picture.
And it's just the mother and the daughter in the picture. And I'm sitting here like, what is this drama? It's so great because it's just like there are so many.
I love it. You can have great drama in episodic shows that doesn't center around pointless filler, and it works.
There's this one scene in this episode, like when he, when a team finds out that he has a daughter and everything, and the lieutenant is just like, "Go ahead, I'll deal with this," and he's like, "Call me if anything happens." And she's like, "Okay." There's no hesitation on that, and I like that because that's sort of splitting a trope right there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they'll tell them to go and they look all super worried and everything. She's like, "No, I got this." You have family.
I love Lieutenant Tachibana as a character.
Yeah, she's great.
She's a strong woman. She is in charge.
She's a strong, independent woman that literally does not need no man.
But she has a man.
But he's a stay-at-home man. She's the one who goes.
She's the one who goes to work, but it's explained later why.
Oh my God, that's episode.
We'll get there.
But I love this scene because he ends up having to take over Cyber Gomora because they can finally slide. Well, not really slide, but they can, bring him into the real world for a small time.
Something that was set up in the first episode that Daichi, because Daichi is like he's on the science team.
Yeah,
which I liked. He's on the science team. He's not part of the combat.
And they do it better than they did in Gaia.
They did it. Here's why I think they did, because Daichi was good at science. He was not good at combat.
Yeah.
Gaia's protagonist was too good at everything.
Yeah.
That's where I think they do it right. And this is something that he's been trying to do, but Asuna, because she cares for Daichi. Daichi's in danger. She is able to summon Cyber Gomora
the first time. And then in this
episode, we find out other people can do it. Captain Kamiki summons Cyber Gomora to stop a monster because my daughter is getting married. I'm going to protect her because X is.
No, he's just like, I'm going to try to get there. And they, like, the team is just like, okay, we got an hour before the wedding is supposed to happen. We had to get him there. Yes. And it doesn't happen.
But the scene where he controls Cyber Gomora and he starts shadowboxing as his daughter is walking down the aisle and the wedding music is playing.
I'll sit here like.
The editing, the camera work, the actual fight.
Yeah.
I swear, when that horn came on, I thought they were going to play the Rocky music.
I did too. I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
When I heard that horn come on, I was like, da-da-da. I was like, da-da-da. Like, I lost my damn mind.
But then they started playing.
If you play the Rocky music now, this is officially the greatest show ever made.
But they played the wedding music instead.
But they played
that worked so much better.
I never thought I could see that song be choreographed to an action scene. But it works so good, but it does.
It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Because like you said, they slow the action down enough to where it matches the tempo of the music, and it works so well. And then after the end, he gets to the chapel, he bursts open the door, everyone's gone. The wedding's over, he missed it. But then, and we've seen throughout the show, he has like a nervous tick where he'll clutch his side like this.
And he has the picture there.
Yeah, and he has the picture, and he does that. And then his daughter's arm comes in, and she takes him by the arm,
and he gets to walk her down.
And it's like, you can still, I love you, I forgive you, without saying anything. he walks her down the aisle.
And I was sitting here like,
no dialogue! You don't need to explain everything! You can just use visuals and it's great!
it's one of my favorite episodes of anything.
So good!
It's such a great scene. And I love, because they do emotion really well in this show. There's that one scene earlier where he goes to see his daughter at the Nissan dealership, by the way, and all their cars are Nissan. So I'm seeing like,
also, all of their technology is Microsoft.
Yeah.
Everyone has a Surface Pro in this show.
You know who sponsored this. But
I think they did it much better than O's did with Apple.
Yeah.
Because there was no episode where there wasn't a moment where the character sticks it at the camera and goes, hey, this is great. Buy it.
But there's this one...
Because that was the thing that happened.
Like that scene when they first meet each other again after all these years, it's awkward. And I love how awkward it is. It's because I'm sitting here like, this makes complete and utter sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just how their relationship is. And I'm just like...
So this boy, what's he like? And she's like, he cares about his family.
And I'm sitting here like,
the first thing she says, it's like, he's great. He cares about his family. That's what he values above everything else. Unlike somebody I know. Without actually saying it, it's just that one line. He cares about his family.
You see Kamiki just look at her just like, oh.
And he's just like, oh.
And then he has to leave because he gets a call that the monster is back.
His thing goes off and she's like, just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, the rest of the characters aren't even really in the episode that much. And it mostly just focuses on him, his daughter, and a little bit of the lieutenant.
Yeah. Because the lieutenant already knows he has a daughter.
Yeah. This episode was amazing.
It was great.
Like, just as a, like, not even just as a Toku episode, but like as a dramatic episode overall, it worked just so. It's like, it reminded me a little bit more of Kuga than, really anything else. Because Kuga was, much more on character development and drama than the monsters. The monsters are just additions.
Nexus.
Yeah. That's exactly how it did in this one. It was just like, it was much more about the drama and the characters and their situations. And the monsters were extra. Mm-hmm. It just made it just awesome. Speaking of awesome episodes, though.
Number 16, the very next episode, Feature Report, 24 Hours Inside Show.
It was unfair going from an amazing episode to another amazing episode, although on a lesser extent, and I have a couple reasons why. Because the whole thing is just like 24 Hours with Zio, and they do it like, following these people around for a day. Yeah. It's a report on following, what Zio does. And I love it, because it's just like there's a camera around them all the time. And there's like the whole, you can see it just like it's an actual camera feed on live television. And
which gives us some great, this is the episode I was talking about, we get great grounds point of view. Where they're filming Ultraman fighting a monster from really far away, and you really get the sense of scale.
Yeah.
You really get, okay, if I were to wake up tomorrow and that was attacking the city, that's what it would look like. That's incredible.
The only thing I didn't like, when he went into CX, they brought it out of that.
They do that a couple of times.
And I don't like it. I was thinking, like, if this would have stayed like it was the entire time, like just found camera footage and we get to see him transform from the outside, instead of going in and doing, like, the whole thing with the X-Slugger.
That did happen once in a previous episode, though.
Yeah.
Where we haven't talked about him yet, but Gomora.
Yeah.
Like I said. I love how he figures out that Daichi is X. Because he's like Daichi runs away, he sees the flash of light, and then Ultraman's there, and he's like, I see.
It's such a good, fun episode.
This is a really fun episode.
This is also the episode that we get to figure out that the lieutenant has a family.
Yeah. Because when they're interviewing her, she keeps on fumbling her words.
Yeah.
She's not very good at the interview aspect. And the other members of the team, they're kind of gossiping about it, and then she kind of walks in behind them, and she's like, and they're like, oh, nothing, and they walk off because they're all scared of her.
Yeah.
And then she pulls out her little phone, and two little girls, her daughters, that we see for the first time, are like, Mama, we saw you on TV, you were great. And I was like, oh, that's
really good, because we're just going to go ahead and skip over to episode 20, because it seems like everything between those two times are just, well, except for the episode 19, we'll talk about that, because we didn't get to see something.
Well, I liked all these episodes, but
episode 19 is a weird favorite, because it has a monster from Ultra Q, the very first Ultra series, come back in one.
Yes.
And he just like, there's a whole thing. They finally are able to bring...
Ultraman is fighting a monster.
Well, no, because they end up bringing Gomora out, and, he's following like their...
But like, fights going on, but then he hears a voice. Is this what coexisting means to you? It says something like that. and then he's transported.
Well, no, because the whole thing is they bring Gomora out.
Yeah, I know.
And Gomora's just like, having fun with them. There's a time limit.
Yeah.
But then when the Dark Bolt strikes him.
Yes, that's right.
And he turns into EX Gomora, and that's basically it. Because he's like starts going on a rampage. And then M1 is just like, because M1, you see him at the very beginning, and he's like monitoring the situation. And then he starts fighting Gomora, trying to like get him to calm down. But M1's just like, is this what, existence? And then he transports him away into a beaker.
Into a little, beaker essentially, on a lab table.
That's floating in nothing. It's such a creepy scene. And M1 is a really, because you don't really get to see a lot of M1.
It's a very Showa-esque design.
Yeah.
It feels like a very old design.
It is a very old design.
And you can tell by looking at it, because it looks like the kind of suit.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah, it really works.
The way he's like constantly like in a dark area, he's always shadowed.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
It's
creepy and it works.
Now we can go ahead and because at the end of the episode, the only reason M1 ends up letting X go is because he sees how awesome is just like constantly trying to get more to just like, calm down. And there's a whole thing. And then at the end of the episode, like Gomora ends up getting rid of all the dark thunder. Mm-hmm. And there's like that one scene where Gomora's like holding his arms like you had to put me back. And X does it. And I'm sitting here like, emotions. This is how you do shit.
Not as much emotions as episode 20.
Oh my god.
Bonds unite.
This episode is great.
So, the show rushes out to eliminate some monsters when...
Now, these monsters, by the way, are from Nexus.
Yes. Which I didn't realize until a few minutes later when Lieutenant Tachibana gets a call from her daughters because she moved she relocated her family, her husband and her two daughters to Canada to get them away from all the chaos that happened in Japan.
By the way, speaking about that, they actually have an actual reason why these things appear in Japan. Because a lot of the spark dolls and like their energy are somewhere off the coastline.
Yeah.
In like a ravine.
Don't you love it when things have a reason?
And I'm sitting here like, what?
The actual thought was put into this?
Is that just random? But yeah.
It's great.
Go ahead and do your thing.
And she's like, oh no, my daughters are in trouble. I have to get to them. A dagger appears.
Well, she was protecting a lady from a monster, and then like the roof falls on her.
Yeah.
And then like there's this whole thing with her trying to protect the lady, trying to keep the monster away, trying to get to her family. Yes. And she's just like in a panic, and then this dagger appears.
And then she transforms into Ultraman Nexus.
And I freaked out.
I lost my damn mind.
I was like, whoa! That's Ultra's back? There was no
goodness. But, yeah. She transforms into Nexus. She flies to Canada. She kills the monster.
She gets the lady to a hospital first.
Yeah, she gets the lady to a hospital first, then flies to Canada, kills the monster, and then just shows up to her family. It's like, guys, you okay?
And then she goes back.
But she's like, that Ultra, and she tells the captain and everyone, that Ultra was me. I am no longer fit for duty because I abandoned my post.
And I love this, like, there are parallels between her and Kamiki. Because it seems like, Kamiki wasn't always there for his family. But she was, and she was just like, I'm going to keep you safe. And, that's something that was on both their minds, keeping their family. But it seemed like Kamiki was just like, I'm going to keep everyone safe. She was just like, I'm going to keep everyone safe too, but my family takes precedence. Right? And I love that parallel.
As a result, I'm unfit for duty, and she tries to resign. And then, in the end, where she pulls the dagger up, she transforms into Nexus again, holds the dagger up, and they go into the fight dimension, and Nexus changes forms.
In the Judas. In the Judas Red.
In the Judas Red. I was like, this is so great.
And then there's that whole fight, and Nexus, he leaves.
Yeah.
He's still Noah, so he can just leave whenever he wants to. So.
And Nexus is the dimension hopper, so all this makes sense. But just her transforming into Nexus, in the words of you, during our top 10 Pink Rangers, yes, Queen! Yes, Queen, that's how you freaking do! This is so great.
It's just so good. It's unfair how good that show was, and just how great it felt to see him come back.
come back in a way that made sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh, hey, here I am. It's, no, he's a dimension hopper. This is something he can do.
Now, episode 21 and 22.
Mm-hmm. Introduces what I think is quite possibly the scariest monster ever.
And
in any show I've ever seen, this might be the scariest one.
He was the whole reason that the whole thing started 15 years ago.
Yep. Ultraman X was because in the first episode, before anything starts, you see a red orb and a purple orb clashing in space, and the purple orb gets thrown into the sun. That was Greeza.
Yeah.
The final big bad monster.
This thing is so creepy.
And him going into the sun is what caused the ultra flares in the first place.
Yeah.
And they bring this up much earlier in the show, and I love how they do it. I love how it's because Daichi knows that X fighting that monster is what caused his family to disappear.
Yeah.
But he doesn't hold a grudge.
Yeah.
He was like, well, he knows if he didn't do that, then who knows how many would die.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. And
I love that.
There's that whole scene because Greeza
isn't forced.
Yeah. Greeza is, attracted to spark ball energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he actually ends up going to
and what have we been creating this entire show?
Spark balls and energy.
Uh-huh.
And there's that whole thing because the main Zeo base is in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes there first. And then he comes to Japan.
Yeah.
And there's that really, really weird scene of him, like you see, it's sort of like, just camera footage of him just being there, him like floating off like this weird thing and making like weird sounds and everything.
His voice, the noises for him kind of reminded me of Ghidorah.
Yeah.
From Godzilla. It's just like a high-pitched sort of whistling kind of thing, and it's just creepy. It's the way he looks. He doesn't have like a distinguishable face.
He reminded me a lot of the Flame guy from the second Zero movie. Like his face does.
Don't remember.
I'll put his picture up.
But it's that with the way he moves. There's no like. It's very like twitchy, flaily. But even though it looks like there's no rhyme or reason to the way he moves, but he's so powerful, and you see that with the destruction that he causes.
Yeah. Because
the U.S. Fleet is trying to stop him, and he flies over them and just gone.
Everyone.
All the ships just blown to hell.
It's so good though.
It's very well done.
Seeing X,
the stakes are there.
Seeing X fight him, and it's like him just like constantly just like there's like that weird after image dodging that he keeps doing.
That reminded me of Wesker from Resident Evil 5.
Yeah,
when he's just doing like the quick dodges and like he'll be standing completely still and then just whoosh, not moving, and like just the quick dodges and the weird noises. And the fact that his attacks are just like not phasing him at all, it's just like, nah, you're not doing anything. I'm not destroying you.
And just like that fight between X and Cyber Gomora and him.
There's that. And
this is the episode where they finally
it's Cyber Gomora, but it's also the Geo fight.
Yeah.
And it's that shot of like the three of them standing in a row, getting ready to charge him, and Greeza just wipes the floor with them.
And this is also when they're finding out that Daichi is X.
Mm-hmm.
And I love also is just like, okay, Daichi's X, but that's not important right now. We have other shit to do. This is important. We have things to just stop.
There are more important matters at hand.
Yeah. And I love it's like they put up the shields and everything, the defenses, but X basically ends up getting just obliterated by X and Daichi end up getting obliterated by Greeza.
Yep.
And there's that whole scene where it's just like they end up getting obliterated. The X falls.
You see it crash and there's a big explosion. He survives. But it's like the ship goes down, Cyber Gomora is destroyed, X is destroyed, he seemingly self-destructs, and what's left behind, the big color timer, the X color timer just sticking out of the ground. It was like the end of Logan.
Yeah.
Our hero has fallen, here is his monument. Oh my goodness.
It's so cool. It's such a great scene.
It's so
But there's like the whole thing, he builds the shields, and Greeza just like, he starts like ringing his head back and forth. And that's like this gong noise that just like constantly damages the shield, like the base and everything.
Yep.
And then there's that whole scene where like the Spark Dolls are just like, we're gonna fight this thing.
Yep.
They get up, and next thing you know, hands.
All get absorbed.
It's just like they constantly keep grabbing the monsters, and I'm just like, this is worse. It's like that one scene from Girl Season 1, which is hands. Except there's no big boob woman at the end of it.
Yeah.
There's a monster of doom at the end of it.
There's a very scary monster of doom.
And then he transforms into like this weird
his final form
amalgamation thing. And
it's like all the monsters combined on top of him, and it looks pretty cool.
And basically, Asuna is having to go and save Daiichi and X the same way that Daiichi.
And they do it in a way that's been set up already. Yeah. When X got transported into the cyber dimension, Daiichi had to basically go and plug into the Matrix. Yeah. Go through this like infinite like sea of data and try and find him. Asuna has to do that and find Daiichi and X.
Yeah. And she does it. And then we even get into
Her emotional connection to Daiichi helps because we know that she has a thing for him. They're kind of a thing. Not so much in a romantic way, but they are. And their emotional connection helps them find each other. And X comes back
with the hybrid armor. Yep. And they just, and I love that there's like the whole scene. Everybody from Zero just comes out because they were in space first. Mm-hmm. Like 2 of the members were in space. Yeah. And then the communication just cut off, and then everybody panics. Yep. And then like because they said that nothing killed them. Yep. And they're just like literally nothing, zero. There's nothing there. And that was Greeza. And then that whole thing is coming out. This whole thing is happening. They all end up coming out. You see them come down from space and just shoot Greeza. And the scientist guy has a bazooka. He is ready to just start killing people.
All of them have everyone, including like the 2 tech people who have barely been in the show. They all have guns. Captain Kamiki, Lieutenant Tachibana, they've all got guns of some gun. I love how the chubby scientist has a bazooka. That was great.
And they just shoot him. And it doesn't do anything, but then X's are coming out. Mm-hmm. And with the hybrid armor.
They weren't trying to beat him, they were just trying to stall him.
And they destroy him.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene. Yep. I love how at the end of this, though, because we do end up getting to see, like, Daiichi, like, see his parents, but they don't come back.
No.
That makes it a little bit, it actually makes it a lot better.
Everyone in Joe survives.
Yeah.
But you can't recover that which was already lost.
Yeah. I love it.
What I love is, like, he sees his parents one last time, and, like, they wave goodbye. You got to see them one last time.
It's great.
And they're proud of him. They're proud of their boy.
It's so good. It's great. X is a great show.
The show was fantastic.
Let's talk about these characters.
Let's do it.
Daiichi.
I liked him a lot.
He was fine. I quite liked him. I felt like he was a little bit... You know what he reminded me of? And this is not a bad thing. He reminded me of Gentaro from Forza. Because, the show really wasn't always about him. It was more about the people around him. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there were things that they ended up focusing on Daiichi for, but it's just like, the show was a lot more about everybody else. Mm-hmm. Which is perfectly fine.
He's like the flower that holds the cake together.
Yeah. And I like X. X as a character, just like X himself.
I like how they made X a separate character.
Yeah. Because, Ginga didn't really do much, neither did Victory. X is legitimately a separate character. He was a separate character from the beginning. You see him like talk to Daiichi constantly. It's fun to have.
I love how whenever he talks to him, no one else can hear him.
Yeah.
And so you'll see him like talk to this, and everyone's like, what are you talking to?
And there's that one scene, it was from the 24 Hours episode, where the guy was just like, X, can we get an interview? And he's like, I love X. Him as a character is just really, really funny. And I love that about them. Asuna,
I liked her a lot.
Yeah, she was perfectly fine. Having a girl who, the whole reason she is what she is, like she is having those cute moments. Like she had that earlier episode where she wanted to go out in these nice shoes. But I love
that episode so much.
She was just like, I spent so much of my life training, I don't really have enough time to do these things. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel like when I get to do these things, I really enjoy them. Mm-hmm. So it's just not something about
her. And then
her
the shoes break, but then at the end of the episode, Lieutenant bought her a new pair.
Yeah.
And they all celebrate her birthday, and it's
really cute. Really, the only ones that we had to talk about are the captain and lieutenant.
But we have Hayato and Takaru.
I don't really remember much about them.
Well, Hayato had the little brother who was into rugby. Hayato was the rugby player.
Yeah.
And then Takaru, they have their rivalry where they butt heads every now and then.
There's a whole one episode.
That one episode that's dedicated to that. I actually really like episode.
The episode was actually pretty funny.
It made me laugh.
The episode was pretty funny. But yeah, it's just like they were background characters, which is no fault of theirs.
They were used appropriately.
Yeah, it works perfectly.
The episode where that deals with their rivalry against Kamiki is like, you two need to shape up and get along. There's a great shot where one of them is flying in the fighter and flies right over the other guy, and it's just like in Nexus where like they see each other, but they don't. But they see each other and they're just like one of those great bro moments that I love so much.
I mean, yeah, they were exactly what they were supposed to be. I mean, Hayato went on to get. Basically, he had a whole special associated around him and Snipe. So, he got his moment later on.
Yeah, and then we have a lab team. We have Gomora, who is the kind of the chubby guy, and then we have Rui, the cutesy one, and then we have Ultraman X,
who was
a Gorman alien. It was nice to see them again.
I don't know if it was the same one. It might have been the same one from Mebius.
It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible, but I loved his performance. His voice. I would compare it to something like Doggy Kruger from Decker Ranger because it's so much more subdued. Because normally when you see suit actors of this kind, you would sometimes they have a tendency to play them very big and the voice is very exaggerated. But this one, it's much more subdued and very, very much more subtle, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it makes a complete sense for the character himself. And it's good to have.
I also love how he figures out that Daichi is X very early on. But he keeps it a secret.
Yeah.
He's like, I understand.
It's great. And the last two is just Captain and Lieutenant.
That's Kamiki and Lieutenant Tachibana.
And I love both of them.
Both of them were great.
Both characters. Both very, very great characters.
Really strong cast all around.
Yeah. They did really good on the casting like last time. Yeah. It's so good to have an Ultraman that we come back to. We're just like, this is amazing. After just, the last couple where we're just like, Ginga was...
It was kind of a downhill spiral.
Ginga ass.
Ginga, the first one, I would say, is the low point.
Yeah. Ginga ass was better.
It was that or Revenge of Belial.
Yeah, both of those. Coming off the first Zero movie.
But as far as shows, I'm definitely going to say Ginga. Because Ginga ass, I thought was better.
Yeah, it was.
Was considerably better than the first Ginga. That was the low point, and now we're back.
Yeah, the way they're in the ring of them now, because, Nexus and Mebius always going to be at the top of me. They switch back.
Want to do our rankings now?
Just based on the ones that we've seen. Because I haven't finished all of Orb nor Geed. But I'm putting...
So far, our rankings.
I'm putting, of course, Nexus and Mebius at the top. I'm going to put Tiga and X on the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I really like both of them, but, you know me, in some cases. There are things I like more about Tiga, because Tiga had those horror episodes. But this X has some of my favorite overall Toku episodes now, with 15 and 16. So, yeah.
I would rank them from worst to best. I would go Ginga, Ultra Fight Victory, Ginga S, Gaia, Tiga, X, Nexus.
Yeah.
That's what I would rank it.
Yeah, it's just like 1, 2, 3, and 4 can sort of just switch each other for me. But yeah, this show was great. I definitely recommend X if you haven't seen it. I don't really see a lot of people talk about X. I see a lot of people talk about Orb. And that's, of course, our next Ultra. Mm-hmm. But our next show is episode 50. Boukenger. Where we can just start up with Boukenger. I'm going to do a skit for the beginning of that episode. I haven't planned it out fully. All I know is it will evolve in an adventure.
Sounds good.
But yeah, tell us what you think about X in the comments below. Don't forget to join us on the various social media platforms, which are all in the comments. In the description. And yeah, join us in 2 weeks for episode 50, GoGo Sentai Boukenger, and then, oh God, we have in comparison.
Oh, right. Oh,
Bye, everybody.
Go watch X. Bye.